Hi everybody! In today's video I'm going to show you how I do my budgeting. Recently somebody approached me on Instagram and asked me how I manage my income. And the answer to this is always, or should always be, the same: budget. I do my budgeting, I track my expenses, I prepare a spending plan, call it whatever fancy word you wish. That's how I manage my money. And because everything finance related, not only personal finance, but finance in general, starts with or involves budgeting, this will be a regular series on this channel. So let's begin. In case you're new here, I'm Marta. I'm a Polish turned British designer living in London. And this channel is my personal finance and good life playground. Welcome. So, let's agree on how we're going to do this. First, I'm going to show you how at the beginning of the previous month I budget my money. So in case of this video, it will be for January 2021. Then we'll talk briefly about what happens with this money. So my banking setup. And finally, we'll take a look at my actual expenses for the whole month. So what I do by the end of every month. And in case of this video, again in January 2021. Now you might say, Marta, it's mid-February. Why are we stuck in January? Let me explain. I wanted to show you the whole cycle of my budgeting in one video. I also always keep in mind the golden rule of this channel: action, action, action. If somebody doesn't budget and watches this video at the beginning of the month, they will say, well, too bad, the month's already started, I'll do it next month. If they watch it by the end of the month, they will say, oh, too little time now to get ready for the next month, I'll wait again. So in order to minimize that chance for procrastination, 10 days before the end of the month gives YouTube enough time to circulate this video, just in time for you to get ready for the next month. Fingers crossed. Now then, I keep my budgeting form in Google Docs. In case you don't know what Google Documents are, it's like a folder with your documents that isn't stored on your computer but on a server. What I like about it is its flexibility, and I don't need to own Excel or Word because I can create all these documents within web browser. So let's say Google Chrome, using Google Documents. I think it's pretty awesome. So this is my budgeting form. It's very simple. It's got 3 columns for fixed expenses, variable expenses, and optional lifestyle expenses. Now, how does it work? At the end of the month, so in this case at the end of December, when I know that I will have no more expenses, so probably on the 30th or 31st of December, I sit down and I plan my month ahead. So you can see this sheet is called January 2021 projected expenses. I know my fixed essentials practically by heart, and then variable essentials, and I add my optional lifestyle. These things change from month to month. Now, this way of budgeting suits my needs. It will never suit 100% your needs, because no matter what budgeting system you use, you need to own it, you need to make it your own, you need to modify it so that it suits your needs. I hope this is clear. I'm self-employed, and I have very clear financial independence goals. So I decided and calculated that ideally I would not like to spend more than £2,000 per month. So this is what I put in as my income, £2,000. This is after investing, after tax, after charity donations, and most of the time after savings, but you will see that some savings are still included here. Now it's time to distribute this £2,000. The way I do it is very close to 0% budgeting. If you're not familiar with it, it's a way of giving every single pound you earn a role. So you know where each pound is going and you allocate them a job. Personally, I don't do it. I like to leave myself a bit of a buffer. And also I don't like the idea of being so obsessively organized and making sure that I know that every single pound is somewhere. It's not how I want to live. So first, my bills. I know them by heart. My mortgage will be this much, my council tax will be this much, water, gas, electricity, broadband, mobile. I'm not going to go through all these number by number because we'll die of boredom immediately. Then I know my variable essentials. Budget is a very much a living thing and it changes. And variable essentials is the part that changes most. For example, transport in the pandemic is completely different to my transport expense in times of commuting. I adjusted month by month. I usually know how much to expect to spend on each category, but I usually look at my previous month and look for any patterns and then adjust accordingly. Then we have household shopping, so any groceries, any cleaning products, stuff like that. Coffee and eating out, and toiletries. Now if you wonder why my toiletries figure is so specific, it's because I use shopping lists. I don't buy things on a whim. There are many rules that people try to implement, like a 7-day rule. If you want something, you put it on a list and you wait 7 days until you buy it, and then you see if you still want to buy it. Some people stretch it to 30 days, some people just squeeze it to 3 days. I call it the old-fashioned shopping list rule because my grand did that, my mom did that. All they did was they had a shopping list before going shopping so that they saved money and they knew what they were going to buy. I just apply it to different things. So I usually know how much I will spend on my toiletries, for example, because at the time of doing budgeting, I know what I run out of and I just buy it on the same day. I find shopping a bit boring and time-wasting, so it's easier for me that way. Finally, optional lifestyle expenses. Joint account. We have a joint Monzo account with Adam. We started this account pretty soon after we started dating. I suggested it because I was getting fed up with this constant who's paying for what when we're going out. We started with contributing £100 per month each, but soon we realized that it was actually too much and £50 was more than enough. But now, because of the pandemic, we don't really go out that much. So we alternate our payments. So 1 month I pay £50 into that account and another month Adam pays £50. So in January it was my turn. The other expenses here are not really expenses as such, but I put them in there because it's easier for me this way to see where my money is going. Course, I'm actually not doing any course, but I love doing courses and I haven't done for quite a while. So I decided to save up some money for one. So I put that expense monthly as if I spend it. Trading 212 is actually an investment and it should not be here, but I put it in here just because I treat that challenge as something closer to fun than investing. Exercising bike, I bought this bike quite a while back, some of you might remember, but I paid for it in 3 installments. My bank was Adam. He basically bought it on Amazon and I just paid him 3 installments. Don't ask me why, I sometimes do stuff like that. Gifts. Valentine's Day was coming, so I knew that I would have to plan for that. And also I like to keep gifts as a optional lifestyle expense every month because I know I will spend some money on gifts. So my total income was £2,000. My total costs added up to £1,896.70. So I have about £100 of leftovers. It usually takes me about 15 minutes to complete this form. Now, if this were a song, this part would be what they call bridge. What happens to this money? We know how I distribute it, but what actually happens physically with it? Where do I keep it? So all my fixed essential expenses are set up as direct debits or standing orders coming out of my Santander 123 Lite account, because that way I get cash back on most of them. Sadly, not on my mortgage because I don't have a mortgage with Santander, but for most of the other bills. All the variable expenses I add up and send the money to my personal Monzo account. The money for the toiletries I would probably spend on the day, I'll just buy them on the day. Optional lifestyle, the dating money, I put it in my Monzo joint account with Adam. Course and gifts, I put them in my PomPoms, which I also keep in my Santander account. The money for the exercising bike will go to Adam on the day. Trading 212 is a top-up, so it will just be taken from my account straight away by Trading 212. So here's my current banking setup. I have a business account from which I pay myself a salary to my current account with Lloyd's. Then the bills and the PomPoms are in my Santander account. personal Monzo for essential expenses, joint Monzo for dating and also my holiday PomPom. And then there's my Amex account. In fact, I will use my Amex for all my expenses and then I will just pay it off with my Monzo card. Now this system works for me for many reasons. One of them is I don't have to think about any dates of my bills when they're coming out of my accounts. I just have them as direct debits, as standing orders in a separate account, and I don't have to worry about that. I once saw a form somebody was selling for putting down all the dates of the bills that are going to come out of your account. Well, to me, if you need a form for something like this, the system is already too complicated for me to even want to use it. Just simply create another bank account for all your bills, for your rent, your mortgage. It took me 10 minutes to do it online. And then just make sure that you budget before any of those bills are going to be taken out of that account. So in my case, by the end of the month. And then just forget about it and use your memory for more useful things. This banking setup works for me, but some of you might say it could be even more simple. Yes, I agree, it could be simplified. So here's how. One way would be to get rid of my Lloyd's current account and pay money from my business account to my Monzo, and then from there pay it to my joint Monzo, my Amex, and my Santander. My business account, my current account, my bills and PomPoms account are all high street bank accounts. Monzo is not, and Amex of course is a credit card account. But who knows, maybe in the future I will replace my high street account with my online account, my Monzo account. I might do that in the future. For now, this setup really works for me and I appreciate how flexible it is, and I like having my Lloyd's current account as a hub for my personal transactions. Okay, let's go back to January budgeting. So I keep mentioning PomPoms, but I never actually explained to you what they are. It's pretty simple. Most of you or some of you are probably familiar with the term sinking funds, right? So was I. But I really had a problem with that name. Sinking funds are essentially savings. And to save money, it takes some discipline and takes some motivation. I'm pretty sure it does for you. It does definitely for me. It requires a certain vision. But every time I think about sinking funds, the only vision I have in my mind is from this famous painting. And this is tragic. This is not motivating at all. I mean, who came up with this name? And so, for my sake and fun, I decided that my savings will not be called sinking funds. They will be called PomPoms. I love PomPoms. They're funny, they make me smile, and they always want me to do this to them. And honestly, it's just much more motivating for me to think about PomPoms than sinking funds when I think about my savings. POM stands for peace of mind times 2, because essentially these savings give me exactly that. So in my PomPoms in January, I had £50 for fun. I put away 100 for my course, 100 for gifts, and I had 712 in my holiday PomPom, which I share with Adam. I update these manually and I don't mind. These ones here include the money from the budget above. Projected expenses done. Let's take a look now at my actual expenses. Time passes, a month goes by, and by the end of the month, it's time to sit down again and look at all the expenses. What I do is I go through all my expenses on my banking apps. I add them up and I put those numbers in my January 2021 actual expenses spreadsheet. So here it is. The fixed essentials stayed the same. Variable essentials are slightly different. Let's take a look. The only new one on the variable essentials is Vanguard fees, and nothing new on the optional lifestyle. In the end, I had, just as planned, more or less £100 leftovers. PomPoms stayed the same. I did not spend anything from my PomPoms in that month. So the second part of my budgeting takes about half an hour to complete. So it takes 45 minutes to an hour maximum per month to do the whole budgeting cycle. In January, as you can see, I stayed within my budget. But what happens if I go over budget? I don't want to turn such behavior into a pattern. So what I do, I make sure that I deduct that money from my following budget. When all my budgeting is done by the end of the month, I delete my projected expenses form. If you wonder why I don't just update the projected expenses form straight away, the answer is I really like to see any patterns, and I like to see what the differences are in my spending from my projected expenses to my actual expenses. That way I can spot these patterns more easily. So this is it, guys. This is how I budget. This is my full budgeting cycle for January 2021. Now the budget for February will be a bit different because Eden moved in, and that will be reflected in my expenses. I really believe that budgeting is super important, and it's a very, very useful tool and pretty essential on any journey to financial freedom. But if I continue with such videos every month, I think we'll quickly get bored of them. So going forward, I will try and test different forms of budgeting and see what worked for me and what didn't, and report to you. And who knows, we'll see, maybe I will modify the way I budget, maybe there will be some improvements. I think it would be fun for all of us to learn something new. Okay guys, this is it for today. I hope you do budget. If you do, let me know what works, what doesn't work for you. And if you don't, I hope this video inspired you to start. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.